Oh, hey there. Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, some eyebrow-raising in terms of retail thefts in Bradford and Innisfil. South Simcoe Police did some digging to find a lot of it had been going unreported. Hospice Simcoe and Season Centre for Grieving Children are pooling their resources to better serve families in need of support in challenging times. If you're looking for a new car but hate the thought of high-pressure sales, we have a solution for you. And there will be summer hockey in Barrie, thanks to a young entrepreneur who identified a need and ran or skated with it. We get the conversation started after this. So Simcoe Police recently conducted a retail theft blitz in Bradford and Innisfil, finding it's a much bigger problem than they thought, a far-reaching problem as well. Staff Sgt David Philips spearheaded this initiative. He outlines the results of the probe and the ongoing effort to keep things in check for Barrie 360's Ian MacLennan.
Tell us about this 10-day retail theft investigation. How did it get launched?
We have a series of bolos that officers put out when they're investigating crimes, where they have video evidence or photographic evidence of crimes taking place, where officers don't know who the person is, and it just seems that we're getting more and more of these bolos being circulated on a regular basis. And I guess I had one too many, and I reached out to a colleague of mine, Sergeant Kai Johnson, and we just started discussing this increasing trend in retail theft. And it kind of flew in the face of what we thought shoplifting was. I think the public generally has this idea that shoplifting is kids stealing a chocolate bar, maybe a pair of jeans, and we're noticing that it's a lot of tools, a lot of high value items. And something different was we're noticing that there's no concealment. People are literally walking out of the store with a cart full of goods. So,
So it's brazen.
Absolutely brazen. And we felt that we need to change. This is not okay. This is not what our community accepts. We've got great retailers in Bradford and Innisfil that are locally owned businesses, hardworking people. They employ a lot of our town. And we're in a position to do something. We're the police, and this is unacceptable behavior. And we've allowed society to creep to the point where this type of behavior is accepted and okay. So we felt not in our town. We need to look into this. From there, we organized a working group with the major retailers in town, and we hosted a meeting. And that idea was we just simply wanted to get together and hear from their side what their take on this was. We found a lot of our retailers were reporting these thefts days later, and that kind of unfortunately gave our officers the opinion that theft wasn't a big deal to them. Unfortunately, that kind of changed our response to these types of incidents. Police really like to do we like to catch the bad guys, and we like it to be fresh pursuit. Days later, kind of telegraphed us that it wasn't a big deal, and what we learned immediately in the first few minutes of the meeting was, we're only getting a small fragment of the thefts that are actually taking place. They're literally reporting the big ones. And it was overwhelming. It was shocking.
But it's not petty crime either, because I think you produced a stat, and this was just a handful of stores, retail in Innisfil and Bradford last year. To their scale of economy, it costs like $600,000.
Well, and one of the things that we learned was the retailers, that's a really protected number for them. They don't like to share the scope of the problem. And again, I think I'm not victim blaming here, but when they don't share the scale of the problem, it's very hard to prioritize our resources that we put into something.
Or maybe raise some eyebrows too with the public.
Certainly. And I feel that, as everyone's tightening their belt right now with the cost of life, we're all paying for this. We all are consumers. We all live in these communities. We shop at these retailers. I mean, if you've gone to the grocery store lately, you've probably noticed that your grocery bill has doubled in 3 years, if not tripled in some cases. Theft is a portion of that we don't talk about. And again, these retailers don't talk about that number. So, I can't identify where those numbers come from, but I can tell you that that's about 4 stores in our community with, $600,000 in losses. And if you're, a locally owned store, Everyone's getting paid except you as the owner.
Who are the people that, I mean, you indicate in the release, you touched on some. Unfortunately, their children were present when theft, these two occurrences that happened. Yeah, there were some young people, but is it random hits or are there organized rings too involved?
It's shocking, the amount of organized crime. And part of our identifications, we had an amazing identification rate. 98% of the occurrences we looked at, we were able to identify who it was. Working in the background with the different asset protection units from the different stores, I mean, these stores are investing in that asset protection side at quite a degree. And they have a bunch of experts, a bunch of technology, and a bunch of people that really care what they're doing. And very quickly you start to realize, wait a second, this guy was hitting Newmarket, this guy was hitting Vaughan. And you work together.
So you're working with other jurisdictions.
You're working with other jurisdictions. You're working with other departments. We found a lot of these retail centers have multiple businesses in them. And again, in our first meeting that we had with our retailers, they're sharing some of these stories about, their private investigators watching this person, and they're like, oh, hey, they went from us to your store. And then their asset protection people are like, hey, we were following someone and they went to your store. These people were thinking and feeling that, they were being targeted, but these people are targeting all of our retailers.
And you went right out. I think there was one case where it was Winnipeg.
One of our subjects, was in Winnipeg committing the exact same type of crimes.
Why has there been a spike, has there been a spike, or is it more awareness, do you see anywhere it's sadly maybe a desperation theft too, where I don't know if you need power tools, but I'm talking at grocery level or
So we didn't work with any of the grocery stores.
Yep.
Not that stealing from a grocery store is right in society either. We worked with retailers, and none of the stuff that was stolen in our Blitz was an item of sustenance. None of it. There was no food stolen, mandatory clothing that you would need to survive. It was strictly thefts for profit. There was a few opportunistic thefts as well, but the majority of the people that we were identifying and are currently working on, we have a lot of open cases still that still have investigative work to go, but a lot of the stuff being stolen, new power tools in boxes. And again, it was a real eye-opener for us when you move to things like Marketplace or Kijiji.
I was just going to say, it gets moved from, they're not keeping it, they're selling it.
They're selling it. And, I would challenge the public, if you are shopping for products, to just be aware that when you see a seller with, 20 or 30 different box tools, to really question where the stuff came from. You'd hear people saying that, I won it in a golf tournament, or I buy Amazon returns. I don't know, with the volume of tools being stolen, I would certainly question, your sources. If you're looking to buy those items, unfortunately, I feel that a lot of that stuff probably has a very checkered history of where it came from.
And collaboration, where do you go from here in working with the retailers and and their reaction to what Simcoe Police have done? And
a lot of our retailers are very appreciative of what we've done. They're running into roadblocks in other communities where police are responding, 7 days later to these types of crimes. And we have that, being a small police service, I've always said that we have our challenges, but one thing we can do very well is pivot. This whole project was only a couple hours of planning. It didn't cost the service any overtime. We didn't avoid any calls for service while the project was in place. We simply agreed to work with our retailers who all brought in their own asset protection personnel, secret shoppers, undercover security officers, empowered them that when you make an arrest, we'll be there to support you. We guaranteed a quick response time, and it was very successful. And initially, I was concerned that it would be a failure, that there wouldn't be any theft happening. And I can assure you by the end of the week, we were overwhelmed with work, which really put a spotlight on the problem in our community. And with Bradford being so close to the GTA, a lot of the criminals that were coming up here, they weren't necessarily from Bradford. They were from the GTA. We had people as far as the EU, and I have to question, if they're here on a crime tourism. There's other occurrences in other parts of Ontario with those people. It just really shows you what's out there.
Looking for a new set of wheels, but don't want the pressure sales pitch from a dealership? If you can hang on for a couple of weeks, the annual Georgian College Student Run Auto Show will be back, a non-sales show, so there's no pressure, just lots of information, test driving, and more. Student Director of Media and Marketing Relations, Luke Raymer, spells things out for Barrie 360's Will Conkin.
Give me a little overview of just what the auto show is.
Yeah, so overview of the auto show. It's a yearly auto show put on by the Automotive Business School of Canada, which is at Georgian College. It's completely student run, and each year they choose 5 student directors to basically organize the whole thing. And then we have all the students in the program help out, and they work the booths. And basically all of the big car brands, they come, they bring their big booths, and they show off their new cars.
What do attendees get from the experience of coming? Why should I come?
So the big thing is it's a non-selling show. So a lot of families come to these events to see the newest models. They get to basically in one area, you get to see over more than 300 cars, and they're brand new. There's no pressure from salesmen. You don't need to go from dealership to dealership. You ask these students questions. They know what the answers are. You get no pressure. It's just a fun time. And there's also kids zones. So you drop off your kids at the kids zones. They play. They have mini dirt bikes this year. We have bouncy house obstacle courses. We have Brampton Batman coming. He's got his Batmobile. It's pretty cool. So main experiences, you get to see all these cool cars and learn more about the industry and what car you possibly want to get.
Anything new planned this year that you guys are implementing or have planned?
Yeah, so as we discussed before, we got over 50 supercars coming on the Sunday, which is insane. So for an extra $5, you get to experience all these supercars and you get to look around them. All the owners will be there, so you get to ask these owners questions about their cars, and some of them might even take you for rides, which is awesome. And we also have our Porsche Drift Track, which is a big attraction. We do this every year. Last year we did electric Porsches. This year we have Porsche 911s. You sit in the passenger, pro driver drives you around a track, gets a little sideways. It's really fun. Free too. It's with the general admission tickets, which is $10, and you get to experience everything there.
And I saw too that there are electric vehicle test drives. With everything switching over to electric, that's nice for people to test out.
Yeah, it's a big deal. A lot of companies are bringing their new EVs, so you get to test them around Barrie. They're very fun. A lot of these EV vehicles, they're quick and right off the line. They're fun. New technology. They're very futuristic. So it's going to be a great time for the test drives.
And people can enter their vehicle right into is it the show and shine?
Correct,
yeah.
Tell
me about that.
Yeah, the show and shine. So Saturday, people will be able to enter their cars in to show them off. So in the morning, we'll have classic and muscle cars. And then in the evening, after 2 p.m., we'll have we'll have tuners and modern cars, which is awesome. So we have a bunch of car clubs coming, showing off their cool whips. So if you're not interested in buying a new car, just come over to check out the cool cars.
What's your favorite part of the show? Or maybe what are you geared up about?
I think I'm geared up about the Porsche Drift Track. That's definitely really fun. A lot of the gearheads and the people that love the adrenaline rush, they come for that. Definitely most pumped for that.
And then when and where is it?
So it is at the Georgian College Barrie campus, 1 Georgian Drive here in Barrie, and then it's June 7th, 8th, and 9th. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
People need to purchase tickets. How much are those? What's the...
Correct, yeah. You can buy them online or you can buy them when you show up. So to purchase a ticket, it's $10. You can buy that at georgianautoshow.ca. Or you can come and buy your ticket right at the entrance. And then for an extra $5 on the Sunday, you can experience the exotic cars. This is a huge show. It's North America's largest outdoor student-run auto show. You don't get to see this every day. Not many opportunities. You can bring the family out for a day event. We got food vendors. Check out the cars, experience the vendors. A lot of vendors bring interactive stuff like driving simulators, stuff like that. You get free stuff too while you're there. A lot of people are giving out hats, tickets, whatever. So yeah, it's going to be a great time. So we're excited to have everybody down there, and we're going to try to get as much of the people from Barrie there as possible.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, Hospice Simcoe and the Season Center for Grieving Children are combining their efforts to better serve those in need of their expertise. And we meet a young entrepreneur who's bringing youth summer hockey back to Barrie. Now this.
It's cool to care.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Cool to Care is brought to you by the Peggy Hill team, keeping it real all the way to sold. Reach out now at peggyhill.com.
It's cool to care with 107.5 Cool FM.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely with something new for kids to do in the city this summer, play organized hockey. And this is thanks to Justin Blanchet, who identified a need, did his homework, literally, and is getting this thing on ice. He's 16, a grade 11 student at St. Peter's Catholic Secondary School. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
16 years old, and you've put this together. As I've said, you identified a need. You're a hockey player yourself. Tell us the history behind this, how you got the idea, why you wanted to do it.
Right, so basically the reason why I wanted to start this league is because as a youth myself, I wanted to give back to the youth community, especially since there's no youth options here for any parents that want to put their kids in a summer league that is in this area. The closest option for parents to go is up near the GTA. So I wanted to open up a league down here. So what I did is I had this idea in marketing class, actually. I was thinking of some sort of business idea I could do throughout the summer. And there's always those ideas like freelance. And I had a few friends that are doing window washing, and I did that in the previous years. But I wanted to try something different and do something that involved the community. So when I went on the internet, I looked up if there was any league options here in Barrie. And after, trying to find competitors, I realized that there was nothing. I found a few here and there, but they were in different areas and not anywhere remotely close to here. So that's when I decided to put together a business plan. I started researching how I could find ice. I started researching what I would need, such as, insurance, how I would acquire players, parents. And then I put together a business plan and I presented it to my parents and asked them what they thought about it, and they loved it.
When did you start doing this? When did you start working on it?
So I first got the idea on April 30th, and that's the day that I put together my business plan. I had my parents look over it, they liked it, and I put together, an income statement. I started getting costs, I put together expenses, revenues, and how everything would look out. And then I just put it all on a document and I printed it off. And since then I've been, working on it for about 2 weeks, and just on May 14th, about a week ago today, I started promoting it.
So you've only been working on this a matter of weeks, and you've got it to this point.
I have, yes. I've had to do a lot of calls, and I had a lot of contacts as well. I officiate hockey here in Barrie as well as playing hockey. So since I do both, I reached out to the Barrie Minor Hockey Association, and I'm good friends with the general manager. I know him through reffing and playing. And I presented my business plan to him. I went and sat down with him at the BMHA office, and I showed him it as well. And, he thought it was a great idea, and he helped me by sending out a flyer I also designed. He sent out that flyer to the parents of U11 and U12 kids in this area. And that's how I first got my few registrations on May 14th. I got about 7 that day, I think. And then from there, word of mouth started getting spread. And since then, this past week, I've been, marketing it at all different angles. Like yesterday, I went around and I put flyers at every mailbox near every elementary school in Innisfil.
So you're probably going to get a great mark in marketing at school. Have any of your other studies suffered because you've been putting all this work into marketing?
Well, I have had to take 2 or 3 classes, I think, where I had to take them off and go into the Learning Commons and try to put this together, kind of because I was on a time crunch and I'm trying to get everything as quickly as possible since the turnaround date's pretty quickly for me to find my players. So I have had to do that a couple times, but thankfully a lot of the work is posted online, so I've been able to keep up. but it definitely has been a lot, and I haven't have had any time to, hang out with my friends, or not much time to hang out with my girlfriend, because I've been really putting this together. But now that it's out there and I'm, marketing it as best as I can, it's kind of slowed down a little bit, and it's all kind of paying off, which is nice.
Getting a lot of support from the community, from your family, obviously, from your girlfriend.
Yes, I am. I'm very appreciative for all the support and all the interest and feedback I've got. I've had, people start emailing me as well, because on my email address, that they are very happy someone opened the league, and people actually reaching out and saying they were looking for this in previous years and there was no options. So those feel really good to get.
Do you see this kind of thing, marketing, as a career path for you when you're finished school?
So when I'm finished school, definitely marketing will be a part of my everyday life, but I'm planning on having my own company. I don't know 100% what yet. I'm hoping this can continue on. Obviously, because since this is my first year running the league, I only have it open to U11 and U12 kids, and I'm planning on opening it from U9 to U14 next year with various different divisions. So I'm hoping I can keep this on as a side thing for as long as I can, possibly, if it goes well. But I do just want to have my own company of some sort. I'm not 100% sure yet what I want it to be. Probably something with e-commerce, since that's completely growing in the industry right now, in the business industry. But I for sure want to have my own company of something. I know that for sure.
All right. Tell us where all of this is going to be happening, how parents can get their kids involved, what's the cost going to be, all the incidental information that people need to know.
This is going to be run out of the Allendale Recreation Center on the red pad. It is going to have, about 12, 13 players, I'm hoping, per team. And it's 5-on-5. It's going to start on July 6th. It's going to run for 8 weeks. I have it booked from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is my ice slot for every single week. And I'm hoping to have 3 games played at that time. So 11 to 12, we'll have 2 teams play, and 12 to 1, etc. So all 6 teams will play every single week. Cost is $199 for a player. I'm also doing a 50% discount for a goalie as well, and 50% off for any players that have a parent that would like to coach. And obviously the coaches will have to have vulnerable sector checks, and hopefully they will have some coaching experience and knowledge in the background as well. Really trying to get goalies. I have a couple so far, but I definitely need to fill the other spots. Those have definitely been the biggest challenge to get. So I'm really hoping I can get the goalies. I have been getting a lot of registrations for players as well. As I said, it's only been open for a week and it's almost halfway booked. Parents can find the registration on my website, www.barrieyouthhockey.ca. I also have an Instagram, which is Barrie Youth Hockey, and on there you can find some posts with my flyers, and you can also find my website linked in the bio. So those are ways parents can register.
Good for you for doing this. Best of luck to you. I hope it works out for you.
Thank you very much.
Give the website again for people to get more information.
Absolutely. So it's www.barrieyouthhockey.ca.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Dan, for having me on.
Hospice Simcoe and the Season Center for Grieving Children have partnered to combine their strengths and resources to help families and individuals find strength during life's most challenging moments. Both have been leaders in end-of-life and bereavement care. Hospice Simcoe Executive Director Kelly Hubbard and Rolly Ramey, Managing Director of the Season Center for Grieving Children, sat down with our Ian MacLennan to outline how the merger will benefit those in need.
Kelly, about the merger, or not merger, but I guess it's a partnership between Hospice and Season Center. How did this come about?
It's been a very interesting journey for the last several years, numerous years. Really, we started to partner probably almost 14 years ago when Hospice Simcoe first opened, and we had young, dying mums and dads that had children in our mix. And how are we going to help? A question came from our staff. How are we going to help these children to grieve the loss of their loved one? And how can we, support those children in the best way? And we reached out to Season Center for Grieving Children. They are our community experts in grief and bereavement for children. So we reached out to them and asked them how they could really help us. So really, since 14 years ago, we have been working together to provide really good, high quality bereavement support for children.
And then what is different now?
Well, fundamentally, rather than an ad hoc partnership, we've created a dynamic partnership. And now we've moved our two entities together. And in this way, we'll be able to service childhood grief and bereavement from its infancy, i.e., or just before somebody's passed away, and that through their school years to 24, we'll have one point of entry for a person. So that's really cool for they don't have to get re-traumatized utilizing different service providers and stuff like that. And then I think the next real thing that comes as an advantage is the continuity of care between both service providers, whether they're doing the one-on-one through our traditional hospice Simcoe or whether you're doing the peer support through a season center. Now the type and language that we utilize will be universal.
Now, obviously, hospice does see young families and a parent passes away. And obviously, we think about the person who has passed away and the adult situation. But I don't mean to say that children are neglected in the situation, but do they sometimes get lost in all that shuffle and the grieving, or?
Possibly at times. And generally the parents, if you can imagine, if you're losing your spouse and you've got multiple children, that's just a very traumatic event for the parent to actually journey through. So they are grieving very much, and they're in their own world of their own grief. So for the parent to sometimes reach out and help and be there and be available and emotionally available to their children at times is challenging for themselves because they can barely get their head off the pillow because they're grieving so badly. So it's really, this is a place where parents can take their children to Season Center and or hospice, and we can help that parent to have the language, to help that parent to have the support systems, to educate that parent on how to help their child. So all of those are just those components in that. So it's not that children get left behind. It's just that it's just a very challenging situation on many levels throughout the entire family, right? The family unit has a missing person that they loved and valued so much. And so how do we help those children to have a voice and to get the supports that they need?
And is this something that you've seen done elsewhere, or are you launching something that is brand new?
This is brand new. And we've heard from other hospices across the province, as has Seasons, that they were experiencing the same issues that we were experiencing as a hospice. You know, we have these young individuals that are dying, and how do we support those children? But we are so fortunate to have had Seasons and have Seasons in our backyard and in our community. The rest of the province doesn't have that. Like, they don't have that. So we're fortunate that Seasons is here. And so we really want to build on that model and take the expertise and the knowledge that Seasons has developed over these years and build it into a model that is certainly replicating that model across. We'll start with the province and try to get Seasons grief and bereavement into every hospice, and that model of care and those standards of care, really, on how to develop and deliver really good bereavement support for children.
Now, you said you've been working together for a number of years, but what was the trigger to grow this relationship?
For us, it just made sense. We have been very open and honest with each other. We have tried very, very hard not to duplicate services. So our staff, our program staff, will meet and say, hey, this is what we're doing here. This is what we're seeing in our community. How can we each other, how do we help fill those gaps? How do we enhance each other? And we have found that over the years has been very valuable, but also for the children. So we serve a child that needs one-to-one sort of individual support, but also the child is also involved in Season Center for Grieving Children in that peer support group setting. So we're both serving the same child in a different way to meet different needs, but they need to do an intake, if you want to say, at Hospice Simcoe. We need to get all of their, information. They need to do the same thing at Season Center for Grieving Children. Every time a child needs to tell their story, it just resurfaces the injury and the wound and opens up that wound. So if we have one intake form, comes to the organization combined, we will serve that child in a better way and help the family in a better way, because it's one point of entry and all the expertise under one roof.
And for your organization, go ahead. How this must be.
I think the true impetus for this is that continuity of care at one point of access. I mean, I'll go back to something you said earlier. Children are sort of pushed aside and stuff like that, and they aren't truly, but we discount them and their understanding what it is. And they're not like adults that may have had a lot of different coping skills throughout their life or been exposed to loss at some point. And so their rawness and their genuine true feelings come out, and they need a place to process it, need skills and understand that. And I think that's sort of the beauty of the Season Center, and now joining together again with that one-on-one and peer-to-peer, and becoming that continuity of care and that one point of entry. I can't tell you how exciting that is for me, being in the bereavement support, child bereavement support.
For more information on all of this, you can log on to hospicesimcoe.ca or grievingchildren.com. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.